All right, you bunch of wankers, welcome back to the deep dive. Let's get right into this shitstorm, shall we? Oasis, reunion tour. 30 years after, definitely maybe, those Gallagher brothers are back to grab the cash and probably try to kill each other on stage.
I mean, it really is. It's like chucking a Molotov cocktail right into the heart of British pop culture. They are Oasis, 90s excess, swagger, and some damn catchy tunes. They're back, like it or not.
And the timing. They dropped this bombshell tour announcement right before the anniversary. Definitely, maybe, 30 years. UK and Ireland, 5 gigs each at Wembley and Heaton Park, eh? That's a power move.
It is a statement for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
those venues are massive. This isn't some reunion gig at the local pub. Oasis is reminding everyone that they were one of the biggest bands on the planet.
And what about the reactions? Everyone's lost their minds. The media's gone batshit, obsessed with the Gallagher feud again. Fans are at each other's throats for tickets. And then they start whining about who deserves to be there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a bit of a generational clash bubbling away under the surface, right? Noel Gallagher's daughter even called out some fans. Ageist, sexist, the whole 9 yards. It's like everyone has an opinion on this reunion, and most of them are pissed off about something.
But it's those older fans who've kept Oasis afloat all this time, though, haven't they? Bit ironic.
It is a paradox, isn't it? They're riding this wave of nostalgia, but then they're slammed for representing that whole 90s laddish culture that some see as outdated and a bit problematic. The Guardian even called them the most damaging pop cultural force in recent British history. Bit harsh.
Someone needs a hug. But hey, they're laughing all the way to the bank, aren't they? 3 albums back in the charts, definitely maybe at #1 again. Live Forever is even higher than it was originally.
It just shows the power of their music, Love them or hate them, Oasis wrote some anthems that still connect today. It's a bit of a social experiment, isn't it? Can you separate the art from the artists?
Speaking of separating things, let's talk about the ticket fiasco. Pre-sale tickets, gone in seconds, being flogged for thousands, and the general sale. What a shit show. Website crashes, bots going crazy, dynamic pricing gone bonkers.
Yeah, dynamic pricing, the bane of music lovers everywhere. It's meant to adjust prices based on demand, sure, but it just feels like legalized scalping. The fans are furious, and for good reason. Imagine waiting in an online queue, 1 million people ahead of you, then you have like seconds to decide whether to pay some extortionate price, all because some algorithm's gone haywire.
No wonder Shambles was trending. The government's even launched an investigation into this dynamic pricing bullshit. And Ticketmaster's probably shitting themselves now that the Competition and Markets Authority is involved.
It's really shown the flaws in the whole system, hasn't it? The demand is insane, yeah, but the systems in place are just not up to it.
What's Oasis's response? A few extra Wembley dates, invite only, of course, like some exclusive club for wankers, and then they expand the whole thing. North America, Australia, South America, Asia. Everyone wants a piece of the Oasis chaos.
That global reach is important, though. It shows that Oasis is more than just a nostalgia act in the UK. They're a global brand, and this tour is a reminder of that.
And to avoid another ticketing meltdown, they've said no to dynamic pricing in North America, damage control, or just trying to save face.
Bit of both, probably. Pissing off American fans could seriously backfire. They've realized they messed up. Whether they actually care is another story.
Who cares if they care? They're laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
Speaking of, who are the poor sods opening for them?
UK and Ireland. You've got Cast and Richard Ashcroft.
Ashcroft. Bit of a pretentious wanker, isn't he? Bittersweet Symphony, though, that's a banger. Even if it did rip off the Rolling Stones.
Well, Cast are Britpop veterans themselves, right? Appeals to the old guard. Ashcroft brings a bit of that verve grandeur, a different vibe. It's a good move. Broadens their appeal without alienating the hardcore fans.
Clever bastards. After Britain, where do they go? World domination, I assume.
Pretty much. They're hitting all the major cities in North America. Toronto, Chicago, LA, the lot. Cage the Elephant are supporting them there.
Cage the Elephant? Who the fuck are they? Some indie band the kids are listening to these days.
Not exactly a household name, no. But they've got a solid following and a Grammy Award for Best Rock Album. They're known for their live shows, good energy, should fit in well with an Oasis crowd.
They better bring their A game if they want to compete with those Gallagher brothers. What about the rest of the world? Any love for the Aussies, or are they being left out in the cold?
Australia's on the list, don't worry. Melbourne, Sydney, 2 gigs each. Then they're off to South America. Buenos Aires, Santiago, Sao Paulo. They've even got dates in South Korea and Japan.
Fucking hell. They really are taking over the world. Global domination, just like they promised back in the 90s. Right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or Rather, the million people stuck in a virtual queue.
Hmm.
How are people supposed to get tickets for this shit show?
That is the million-dollar question. The initial ticket sales were a disaster, plain and simple. Pre-sale tickets were going for thousands of pounds within minutes.
Greedy bastards.
Hmm.
And the general sale was a complete shambles. Website crashes, bots running riot, that dynamic pricing screwing everyone over.
It was just a perfect storm of bad planning and technical fuck-ups. Ticketmaster's getting most of the blame, and rightly so. Fans are pissed off, and it's become a national scandal.
So what's the solution? Are we all supposed to cough up thousands to scalpers or just stay home listening to Wonderwall on repeat?
Well, they've added a few extra dates to try and meet demand, including those invite-only Wembley gigs, which just piss more people off if we're being honest. And they've promised no dynamic pricing for the North American shows, which is something, I guess.
Too little, too late, if you ask me. They've already pissed off a lot of fans with this whole ticketing fiasco. Still, I bet the gigs will be packed no matter what.
Probably right. People will find a way, even if it means selling their granny's teeth. Something about a potential train wreck just draws people in, you know?
It's the Gallagher Brothers, mate. The ultimate train wreck. Brilliant music, legendary fights, enough drama to fuel a whole season of EastEnders. What more could you ask for?
A little less chaos, maybe. And a little more respect for the fans wouldn't hurt. But then it wouldn't be Oasis, would it? The whole reunion is a gamble. Triumphant return to glory or spectacular implosion. Who knows?
Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be one hell of a ride. We've covered the tour dates, the supporting acts, the ticketing nightmare. What else is there to dive into with this reunion?
Well, we've talked about the potential for fireworks between the brothers, right? But there's another, maybe more interesting angle to consider. The music itself. Will they just churn out the classics? Or will they surprise us with some new material? How has their sound evolved after all these years apart? That's what we'll be exploring next. So,
Where were we? Yes, the tour itself.
Yeah.
Kicking things off July 4th. Principality Stadium, Cardiff. Then it's up to Manchester, Heaton Park. 5 nights. Heaton Park. Oasis. Back in their hometown. Surrounded by, 100,000 pissed-up Mancunians? Should be a right laugh. If they don't burn the place down, that is.
Then it's down to London, another 5 nights. Wembley Stadium. Can you imagine the headlines? Oasis brawls at Wembley. Gallagher Brothers reunite and riot.
Wembley. 5 nights. Fucking hell. They really are back in the big leagues. Who are they dragging along for the ride? Anyone actually worth seeing?
UK and Ireland, you've got Cast and Richard Ashcroft.
Ashcroft. What a pretentious wanker. Bittersweet Symphony, though. Banger. Even if it did rip off the Rolling Stones.
Well, Cast. Britpop veterans, taps into that whole 90s nostalgia thing. Ashcroft, a bit of that, verve, grandeur.
Yeah.
Appeals to a different crowd, maybe. Smart move, I guess. Broadens the appeal without pissing off the diehards.
Clever bastards. All right, after they've conquered Britain, where do they go? World domination, I presume.
You got it. North America, all the big cities, Toronto, Chicago, LA, the whole shebang. Cage the Elephant are supporting them there.
Cage of the Elephant. Never heard of them. Some indie band the kids are listening to these days.
Not exactly a household name, no. But they've got a decent following. Won a Grammy. Best rock album. They're known for their live shows, Good energy. Should fit in all right with an Oasis crowd.
They better bring their A game if they want to survive those Gallagher brothers. What about the rest of the world? Any love for the Aussies? Or are they out in the cold?
Australia. Yeah, mate, they're on the list. Melbourne, Sydney. 2 gigs each. Then it's South America, Buenos Aires, Santiago, Sao Paulo. Even got dates in South Korea and Japan.
Fucking hell. They really are taking over the world, aren't they? Global domination, just like they promised back in the 90s. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or maybe it's the million people stuck in an online queue. How are people supposed to get tickets for this thing?
That is the million-dollar question. The initial ticket sales, absolute disaster. Pre-sale tickets gone within minutes. Resold for thousands of pounds.
Typical. Greedy bastards. It didn't stop there, did it? The general sale. What a complete shambles. Website crashes, bots everywhere, dynamic pricing, screwing everyone over.
It was just a recipe for disaster. Bad planning, technical fuck-ups. Ticketmaster's taking most of the heat, which is fair enough. Fans are furious, and it's turned into a massive scandal.
So what's the solution? Are we all supposed to fork out thousands to scalpers? Or just stay home listening to Wonderwall on repeat?
Well, they've added a few more dates trying to keep up with the demand, including those invite-only Wembley gigs, which, let's be honest, pissed more people off, and they've promised no dynamic pricing for North America. Baby steps, I guess.
Too little, too late, if you ask me. They've already alienated a lot of their fan base with this whole ticketing mess.
Yeah.
I bet the gigs will still be packed, though. no matter what.
Probably. People will find a way, even if it means selling their granny's teeth. There's something about a potential train wreck that, draws people in.
It's the Gallagher brothers, mate. They are the train wreck. Brilliant music, legendary fights, enough drama to, I don't know, fuel a whole season of EastEnders. What more could you ask for?
Bit less chaos, maybe. Bit more respect for the fans wouldn't go amiss. But then, it wouldn't be Oasis, would it? This whole reunion thing is a gamble. Triumphant comeback. Or massive explosion, who knows?
Only time will tell. One thing's for sure, though. It's gonna be a hell of a ride. Right, we've covered the tour dates, the supporting acts, the whole ticketing nightmare. What else is there to dive into with this reunion?
We've talked about the potential for fireworks between the brothers, right? But there's another angle, maybe more interesting, the music itself. Will they just stick to the classics? Will they try and surprise us with some new materials? How has their sound actually changed after all these years apart? That's what we need to look at next.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks. The music? Are they going to churn out the same old shit? Or will they actually try and surprise us with something new? And how the hell has their sound changed after all this time apart?
That's the big question, isn't it? Everyone's speculating. Some say they'll just play it safe, give the people what they want, all the big hits for the nostalgia crowd. Others reckon they'll use the tour to, showcase new material, prove they're not just some washed-up tribute act.
I'll bet you anything they play it safe. Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger, all that sing-along bollocks. Why bother changing things up when you're already raking it in?
True, but those Gallaghers, they got massive egos. They both want to prove they can still, write hits without each other. I wouldn't be surprised if they check in a few new tracks. Maybe even rework some solo stuff for the full band.
Can you imagine Liam belting out one of Noel's high-flying bird songs? The irony would be off the charts. But seriously, how has their sound actually changed? Noel's always been the songwriter, the brains of the operation. What's Liam going to do? Stand there and sneer while someone else plays guitar?
Well, Liam's solo stuff has stayed pretty close to that classic Oasis sound. Big anthems, catchy melodies, that swagger. He's not exactly breaking new ground, but it's decent. Noel's gone a bit more experimental with high-flying birds. More psychedelic stuff, electronic elements.
Sounds a bit wanky, if you ask me. Has Liam actually gotten any better as a singer? Or is he still just shouting into a microphone?
Liam's voice, yeah, it's definitely matured. A bit rougher around the edges, maybe. But there's more depth there now, more emotion. This isn't the 20-year-old Liam who could barely hold a tune. He's had time to, hone his craft.
Let's say they do play some new stuff. Will it actually be any good? Can they recapture that, that magic they had back in the 90s? Or is this whole thing just a cynical cash grab?
That's the big question, isn't it? Nostalgia's a powerful drug, but it can also be a trap. If they just rehash the old stuff, they risk alienating the fans who, want more. But if they try too hard to be all innovative and different, they might lose what made them great in the first place.
This whole reunion, it's like walking a tightrope, isn't it? One wrong step and the whole thing could come crash down.
Exactly. It's high stakes. But that's what makes it so interesting, right? Will they rise to the occasion, deliver something special? Or will they just fall back into those old habits? The fighting, the self-destruction, all that?
Well, only one way to find out. We'll be watching, listening, ready to dissect every note, every snide comment, every backstage brawl.
This is more than just a tour, though. It's a moment, a chance for Oasis to, redefine their legacy, for better or worse, and for us, a chance to see history in the making.
So there you have it, folks, the Oasis reunion, a whirlwind of nostalgia, chaos, and maybe, just maybe, some decent music along the way. Who knows what'll happen? Will they stay together? Is this the final farewell? Only time will tell. One thing's for sure, though. It's going to be one hell of a ride. Cheers.